Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Mark Andrich, who is a global critical minerals expert. It is so nice to have you today. You're calling in all the way from Perth, Australia.
Thanks for having me on, Tracy. Great to be here.
Critical minerals platform. We love it. We use it every single day. We're using it in our critical minerals report. We're using it in our masterclass. Can you tell us what was the catalyst for you and your partner to build the critical minerals platform?
Sure. So we started getting questions from North American customers about rare earths and about the critical minerals market. And we realized that we had a whole lot of data that we could put together to make it understandable. In this, most people didn't understand what the critical minerals market was or how it is structured across the whole supply chain. And so we started piecing that together, and the critical minerals platform was born out of that, which also includes the pricing of those minerals.
I love to call it critical minerals platform because there's so many syllables, CMP. And CMP tracks 67 critical minerals in more than 7,000 companies across over 100 countries. That seems like an extraordinary amount of data. How did you put this all together?
So before the term AI was used, we actually developed our own AI, which were really algorithms to collect information on companies from reputable sources. So that was the company information itself and any government information on companies or on markets. We started using computers to do that in about 2014 through 2017, and we ended up with a database of around 40,000 companies that we've then segmented into 8,000, which are very relevant to critical minerals. And we've also used our own proprietary taxonomy to do this. So if you can think of products and services, how they're used, we work back from how a product is used and how it's built.
The discrepancy in critical mineral prices is staggering. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you're setting yourself apart from the competitors and why companies like ours are leaning in and calling CMP first for your numbers?
Sure. So firstly, we have a confidence level on all the prices that we deliver, which is based on the number of reliable sources we have for those prices. So we give that transparency to our clients. The second thing is that we're actually looking at data which is from the producers, the refiners themselves, not just the traders of the minerals, because sometimes the trading price might be very low volume. What we're looking at is the industrial market. So the real price which buyers and sellers are getting from the producers or kind of closer to the source material.
Some companies claim that they get their pricing from contracts. Jack Lifton tells me that's an absolutely ridiculous formula to base your pricing. Can you comment on that structure?
Yeah, two things around that. Number one, companies keep their contracts very, very confidential. So getting any pricing from those contracts is incredibly difficult, especially across enough sources. The second thing is that normally they would be relatively long term, so getting any kind of up-to-date information can be difficult. And then the third thing is sometimes these contracts actually there'll be other contracts as well. So you might have something sold for $100 a kilo, but if you hit a certain volume, maybe you get a 20-30% rebate in the next quarter. So the contract itself doesn't necessarily give you the actual price that a company is getting for a mineral.
One of the things I enjoyed when I use CMP is the ability to identify supply chains and actually tap into these companies and get more information. Whose idea was that?
Well, actually, it was our customers in the US. They didn't understand, and nor did we at the start, going back a few years, what the supply chain actually look like, and it's incredibly complicated. But what Ria and I, Dr. Ria Christiana, who's the other director of CMP, what we realized through our research was that you start off with a simple question. So, for example, what is the supply chain or what is the risk? Then you do a whole lot of complicated analysis, which takes forever. But at the end of the day, you end up with a pretty simple answer. And so what we wanted to do was understand it ourselves. And by understanding it ourselves, we could help our clients understand it. So that's why the supply chain is mapped out. And by simplifying it, you can also see what kind of the main drivers for the market or the risks are.
Well, we really appreciate the reports that you have as well. Is there anything that you can share with us right now? A critical mineral we should all be watching?
Uh, yeah, so I mean, a lot of people I know on your show as well have been talking about tungsten, and tungsten's incredibly important just because of I mean, the hardness, obviously, but the tooling that is used to make products that make other products. So the other one is the terbium, which is used to dope lasers. So what we've been looking at is what what manufacturing and what kind of machines are needed to make robots and to make other drones and to make other machines, which then go down the supply chain. So, or the consumers see. So, as an example, we've got a robotics and automation index, which tracks the minerals around that. That's up about 100, over 100% this year. And the minerals going into that are tantalum, cobalt, NdPr, tungsten. Um, so that's one of the, I guess, interesting things that we've been looking at recently.
So, for those of you interested in finding out more about CMP's platform, which you can go to at criticalmineralsplatform.com, you can currently get 2 weeks free so you can test it before you decide if you want to subscribe. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. It is such a pleasure.
Thanks, Tracy.